Join us and discover beautiful beaches, rugged landscapes, pretty towns, desolate mountain ranges that sweep down to stunning lakes, unique architecture, history and folklore, no shamrocks, no shillelaghs, and definitely no shenanigans, just naked Ireland. Today's film starts here at Hamilton Dock beside SS Nomadic, the last remaining vessel of the White Star Line, and the only surviving ship designed by the same naval architect responsible for Titanic, Thomas Andrews, and his colleagues at Harland and Wolff. And there's one of the Harland and Wolff shipyard cranes in the distance there, a testament to the city's shipbuilding past. We now pass beneath the red brick building of the former Harland and Wolff drawing offices. It was in offices such as these that teams of naval architects, engineers and draftsmen transformed ambitious ideas into detailed plans for some of the largest ships the world had ever seen. So welcome to Belfast's historic Titanic Quarter, where the story of one of the most famous ships ever built began. Up ahead now you see the incredible Titanic Belfast building. It was opened in 2012 to mark the centenary of Titanic's launch. The museum stands on the very site where the ship was designed, constructed and fitted out. The building's dramatic angular form evokes the shape of the ship's bows, raising from the water, while its height matches that of Titanic's hull from keel to deck. I think you'll agree that the building itself is an impressive statement, but of course we're also interested in what's inside, so stick around for that. Before we enter, however, we'll take a quick look at the sculpture Titanica, created by Irish artist Rowan Gillespie and unveiled in 2012. Standing over 4 metres tall, the bronze figure combines human and maritime forms. With arms extended and a flowing shape suggestive of both a female figure and a ship's prow, the sculpture was designed as a symbol of hope, aspiration and remembrance. And as we enter the building's vast foyer, the scale and ambition of the project becomes immediately apparent. The angular architecture reflects the themes of industry, innovation and maritime history that define this site. The escalators carry visitors upwards into the museum galleries, where the remarkable story of the Titanic unfolds. From Belfast's booming shipyards, through construction and launch, to triumph, tragedy and legacy. To understand Titanic's story, it helps to understand Belfast at the beginning of the 20th century. In the early part of the 20th century, Belfast was as politically charged as it has ever been, with Ireland pushing for its independence, as can be seen here in the lower political placard, but with Ulster Protestants being one of the obstacles to that, as the top placard suggests. Belfast was one of the industrial powerhouses of the British Empire. The city was renowned for 3 industries: linen manufacturing, rope making and shipbuilding. The first part of the exhibition shows the industrial context of Titanic and gives a lot of information on the major industries that helped Belfast thrive as a Victorian city. It's this part of the exhibition that may be interesting to Titanic enthusiasts from outside Ireland, in that it might plug a few knowledge gaps. Many people know lots about the ship itself, but perhaps not so much about the social or political circumstances surrounding its manufacture. And for those with genuine interest in Belfast as a city, there's plenty of old photographs that have been reanimated to give the audience a feel for the period. There's a scene of High Street and the Albert Clock for those that know the city. And of course the White Star Line shipping routes of the time are illustrated as well. Here we see the old Harland and Wolff drawing office that we passed under on our way into the museum. Harland and Wolff, founded in 1861 by Edward Harland and Gustav Wolff, had grown into one of the world's largest shipyards. After this point, the museum's designed to give the impression of us being in the industrial area, or even being inside the ship itself during manufacture. It's probably not obvious here, but I'm now on board a kind of amusement ride that takes visitors through a reconstruction of the shipbuilding process. To be honest, this isn't really my kind of thing. It's a bit Disneyland, but I understand of course that it's what many people want these days. Perhaps kids would be more interested in this aspect of the visit. And during this part of the visit, we hear people talking of their experience as shipbuilders, etc. You can't really hear that in my video, obviously, because I don't want to expose the whole exhibition to you before you even get here. By the way, if this video is interesting or informative, please take a second now to give it a like. I'd really appreciate that. It's a small gesture for you, but it means a lot to me. And please think about subscribing, that helps the channel so much. Please hit the big red button and I promise only good things will happen. So our fairground ride finishes and we're back into the main exhibition space again. Lots of opportunities here to get a view of the surrounding Titanic area. Or if models are more your thing, I must say I like models, they have them here too. Now the other thing that I think people find fascinating about Titanic is the luxury nature of the ship. Not for the poor steerage passengers obviously, but if you had money you could really travel in style at the beginning of the 20th century. You'll see some of that in a minute. Meanwhile, here's some more models. What's not to like? So we have these animated interiors on the ship's facilities, which gives you some idea of how the other half lived. Now for me, this was the most successful part of the exhibition. As you may know, I'm not usually motivated by multimedia exhibits, but this magical ascension up through the different levels of the ship I thought very impressive. It may not be obvious, but what you're looking at is a projected film, giving the impression you're in some sort of lift, and those are real people that just happen to be standing in front of me. Now that staircase exists in replica in the museum apparently, but I was disappointed to be told after asking one of the staff where it was, that it's in another part of the museum used for functions and therefore not open to the general public. But as you can see, this part of the exhibition is very effective. Of course, towards the end of the exhibition, we turn our attention to the fateful event itself. But perhaps before we get to that, if you really enjoy these films and would like to support in some way financially, you can. As you probably already know, you can buy me a pint by way of a donation. It's very easy to do, just click on the link in the second paragraph of the description beneath this video and that'll take you straight to the donation page. Couldn't be easier, except that I've made it easier for those watching on a TV or a computer screen. You're able to simply scan the QR code appearing in the corner of the screen now, and again that'll take you straight to the donation page and all donations are gratefully received. So we all know the story of what happened on the night of the 15th of April 1912, and having seen this great ship up close, as it were, throughout the exhibition, it makes its tragic sinking all the more moving. But of course the material loss of steel and wood, however finely crafted, can never be measured against the tragic loss of life that occurred. Again, this aspect is powerfully brought home when we encounter this list of the saved and the lost, and alas, there were more lost than saved. Around 1,500 souls perished in the icy waters out of the 2,208 on board, making it one of the most deadliest peacetime maritime disasters. Being a luxury liner, some of the wealthiest people in the world were killed and made headlines. Not making the headlines was the death of a grossly disproportionate amount of third-class passengers, many of whom were immigrants seeking new life in a new land. So on Titanic, what class of passenger you were determined your likely fate. For people that like interactivity and lots of knobs and whistles in their exhibitions, this is a good one for you. For some, the multimedia aspect might be a bit overwhelming. The exhibition centre itself is very impressive, and it's amazing that it's right here where the ship was built and launched. And some of the effects created using projection is very atmospheric. I think some people will really enjoy that aspect of the exhibition. But there's plenty here for everyone. Even if you've only the remotest interest in the Titanic, even the remotest interest in Belfast. Now this is a gorgeous item. An original deck chair, one of only 6 salvaged from the Titanic, with its original White Star crest on the top. And this violin belonging to Wallace Hartley, one of the courageous band who played on through the disaster. So don't run away, we've still more to see as we find ourselves back outside the museum itself. And this is where we began our film, outside the amazing SS Nomadic again. Only this time, we're going to climb aboard. The Titanic Belfast ticket entitles you to get aboard the Nomadic too, so why wouldn't you? Just to fill you in if you don't know, the SS Nomadic was also owned by the White Star Line and was used to transfer passengers and mail to and from the Titanic. Again, this vessel was constructed here in the Belfast shipyard. And on we go. So it's quite sparsely furnished, but obviously it wasn't intended that passengers spend any long periods here. It's quite attractive in fact, and has all the craftsmanship you'd expect from this period of shipbuilding. Nothing compared to the ship that it was built to serve obviously, but not a bad wee boat all the same. A little austere perhaps in places. But not totally devoid of the trimmings at the same time. Imagine trying to commission this kind of workmanship these days. Now I should point out I'm not accustomed to filming in toilets, but as I was on my own here, I couldn't resist sharing this very well crafted smallest room in the house with you. With its appropriately named cistern. So there we are, and here we are back at the Harland Wolff Cranes. I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to Titanic Belfast. Maybe you'll come and see it for yourself. Maybe you already have, in which case you can let us know what you thought. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next Naked Ireland.